With College Football 25 being a few months old, I figured it was about time to really dive in and give you all my thoughts on the best playbooks for various playstyles. Obviously, everyone has their preference, but I figure most of us are creatures of habit and may not have the time to dive in and find another playbook with a different playstyle that they would want to try. With that being said, all games have certain plays that are broken or meta, but for this exercise, I want to stay away from that since we are trying to focus on realism as much as possible on this channel. I appreciate you all being here and I hope you enjoy, and let's get into it. To break this down further, I wanted to divide this list into two major categories. The first is going to be run and the second is going to be pass playbooks, and then we dive into more of a formation-based division below that. For an example, if you have some really good tight ends coming in this offseason and you want to use them more than your receivers, I will have a playbook section for you and similar stuff like that. So save this video and refer to it later with the timestamps below. Obviously, there is the ability to customize any playbook you want, but with so many plays to choose from, it's pretty tedious and can be very time-consuming and confusing. These are, in my opinion, the best plug-and-play options for users. One of the most recent trends in football in both the collegiate and pro level are players in motion before the snap. This will also help players identify coverage schemes and what defenses may be playing at the time. Two of the best playbooks I have found for this are Ball State and Colorado State. Ball State is by far the best if you want this style of play, since every set has multiple options for preset motion. But we also find good amounts of this in Colorado State's playbook as well. Colorado State has a lot of play action and screen plays run out of motion, so it's really fun to use. The most true to college playbook style in College Football 25 is the RPO scheme. A ton of teams have these options, but there are two to me that stand out as unique or pretty good to use. The first is going to be Wake Forest. Wake runs what is called the RPO walk scheme, which is the same as any RPO concept except for the fact that your decisions you need to make are delayed. And this is done by slowly walking a handoff forward and then deciding to pass. This benefits you as the play can develop and you can actually throw these quick slant routes or even lob fades to wideouts who beat their defender. The second is going to be Oregon. Oregon has a lot of good selection of various types of RPOs, not necessarily the walk type, which is pretty specific to Wake, but you could always add it yourself with the edit feature. Along with RPOs, they have a ton of play action plays as well, which can fall into the same bucket as the diversion deception, much like an RPO. Next, I wanted to highlight teams that had formations that were focused on tight ends. First, I wanted to showcase Iowa. Iowa has long been tight end U as they have a handful of pro level talent come from there every season, from George Kittle to Sam Laporta. So obviously this will be a great one if you want to target more of your tight ends or two tight ends passing schemes. The next team is another tight end producer in Georgia. Georgia's playbook is also focused on tight end play, but gives more sets that have tight ends line up out wide. This is great for those vertical threat players or guys with good speed, or even those physical wideouts you move to tight end. The last one I wanted to put here is Utah. Utah is probably my least favorite out of the three, but that doesn't mean it's not a good playbook. They have similar formations to the other two schools, so not really much else to cover. One formation I do like here is the wing tight U that has three tight ends on the field. Complementing this is a lot of play action plays that can really confuse the defense to get your overloaded side open. If you would rather spread the defense thin or don't have the greatest tight end talent, or even maybe have better receiving running backs, then this is a section for you. USC is our first team we wanted to cover. USC has a lot of empty sets that really force the defense into a pass protection scheme. Along with this, they heavily use their running backs out wide, so if you have a speedy guy in the backfield and want to get him in one-on-one situations with a defensive back, then this is a good choice for you. And speaking of spacing out on defenses, one of the best for this is going to be Tennessee. They have over 10 wide sets, which can really open holes in the coverage. The only issue I see with this is a lack of visibility in some camera angles, so you may need to switch up your camera angle from time to time if you're going to use this playbook. Before we get into the run schemes, I wanted to ask you, if you like what you see here today, consider dropping a like and a sub below. You all have shown so much love to the channel recently, and I am forever grateful. Help us to continue to grow the channel, and let's get back to it. The most college of college run schemes is the old-fashioned option playbook. Wing T, fullbacks, and wingbacks are plentiful in 3 different playbooks. All of these are going to be service academies, so you have Army, Air Force, and Navy are going to be your go-tos here if you want to go ground and pound with the triple option. I don't really have a preference, but Army does seem to have more options for passing if you have 1 or 2 wide receivers that you really want to highlight in that manner. Next, I wanted to cover some playbooks that benefit mobile quarterbacks. The first of this group I like is UNLV's playbook. They have a lot of plays that run from shotgun and stretch the defense downfield. which opens up allotting running games for your mobile QB. Along with this, they have the duo slot open set, which is a 2 running back offset set that only this playbook has. Similar to this, Alabama's playbook also has a lot of plays that stretch the defenses downfield. Along with Jalen Miller being the real life QB, it makes a lot of sense to use this if you have a pretty mobile quarterback. Lastly, I wanted to cover playbooks that defer a lot to running backs. Obviously, most playbooks have a ton of run plays, but these are ones specifically geared towards running backs. One other note is if you want to increase carries for your second or even third string backs, change your auto sub and fatigue settings. I have a decent guide for this linked in the top right hand corner if you want to check it out. But the first team we wanted to highlight was Michigan. With players like Blake Corum the last few seasons and Donovan Edwards this year, they have a true ground and pound team. They also have their own scheme in a bunch X Nasty, which is pretty interesting. TCU can also be another decent option here. While it may not seem like they are run oriented, they have a ton of options of inside and outside zones, read or speed options, and ISO run plays to really go in any direction at any time. Other playbooks that would work here are playbooks that are in the multiple group scheme, and a good example of this is going to be UMass. And that's all we had today. Let me know in the comments what your favorite playbook is or has been, and the favorite plays you love to run. If there is enough interest, I may make another video for specific plays the community has really enjoyed. I'm glad you tuned in, and I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one.